Samuel and I are stepbrothers. When he learned I was going into an arranged marriage, he immediately grabbed me and asked, "Does he know that an alpha like you is carrying my child, brother?" After gagging in front of Samuel yet again, he raised an eyebrow and casually asked, "Nathan, you're not pregnant, are you?" I froze for a moment. How could that be? I'm an alpha. Everyone knows that an alpha's reproductive system gradually shrinks after development, losing the ability to carry a child. That's exactly why Samuel acts so recklessly. But apparently, he still wasn't reassured. "Go get checked tomorrow." Just hearing him say that unsettled me for days. In the end, I decided to go to the hospital. When the results came back, the doctor said, "This isn't a stomach problem, you're pregnant." I stared at him in shock. "Doctor, are you sure this isn't a mistake?" The doctor glanced at my secondary sex characteristics and frowned. "Better get an ultrasound to be sure." When I got the results again, the doctor confirmed it without a doubt. He hadn't misdiagnosed. I was pregnant. "You're already 3 months along. How did you only find out now?" At this stage, the fetus starts needing a lot of calming pheromones. You've been lacking them, which is why you've been feeling unwell so often. I weakly reminded him, "Doctor, I'm an alpha." The doctor pushed up his glasses. "So what if you're an alpha? As long as your reproductive system is well developed, there's nothing stopping you from getting pregnant. Look, your system is even better developed than some omegas. If things happen frequently enough, it's hard not to get pregnant." He glanced behind me and then toward the door, asking, "Where's your partner? Alpha or Enigma? Why didn't they come with you?" I rubbed my nose and quietly answered in my heart, "Neither. Samuel is an Omega. Why didn't he provide pheromones for you? Did you fight or break up?" The rapid-fire questions left me momentarily blank. He's busy. Busy or not, you can't ignore a pregnant partner. In the end, I walked out of the hospital with a pile of pheromone supplements, feeling completely lost. Samuel had been right all along. I stared at the results over and over, not knowing what to do. I thought things couldn't get any weirder. Being an alpha paired with an omega, switching positions back and forth, was already absurd enough. But what was even more ridiculous was now happening. I, an alpha, was pregnant by an omega. When I got home, Samuel had returned from his business trip, sprawled on the sofa playing games. Seeing me, he tossed the controller aside and pulled me into his arms. "You went to the hospital? You smell like disinfectant." Like a dog sniffing me out. I clenched my fists, unsure whether I should tell him about the pregnancy. Honestly, I didn't want this child. An alpha pregnant, and by an omega no less. How absurd. I couldn't accept it. But Samuel was different. He had mentioned having a child more than once in bed. Every time my mind was muddled by him, he'd murmur in my ear, "Brother, why can't you have a child? Have one, brother. One that's ours. Then even if our parents find out the truth about us, they wouldn't oppose us being together." Pain hit me, and I snapped back to reality. Looking at the fluffy head buried in my neck, biting me, I closed my eyes. "You went to the hospital, right? What did they say?" Samuel released me slightly, licking the bite mark, streaked with blood. "Pregnant?" I looked away, firmly denying it. "No, I'm an alpha. There's no way I could be pregnant." He curled his lips, palm down, muttering gloomily, "Then I guess I just wasn't trying hard enough." Not trying hard enough. He was clearly trying way too hard. Whenever he had free time, he'd drag me to bed, day or night. Now, I was terrified and heart-racing, unable to cry. When he picked me up, I shuddered in fright. I don't want to today." "Did I say we'd do anything?" Samuel asked innocently. He laid me on the bed and immediately curled up against me. "Brother, I'm so tired. Sleep with me for a bit." Sniffing the sweet hyacinth pheromones on him, my queasy feeling gradually subsided. I stared at his sleeping face, lost in thought. Samuel and I are not blood-related. When I was 8, my Omega father, Parker, married me off to Samuel's alpha mother, Scarlett. Before we met, Scarlett looked exasperated and said, "Samuel might not accept you right away." But I told him, even if he doesn't accept it, he has to welcome his brother. When I first met Samuel, he was only 5. He snorted and turned away when he saw me, running back to his room with his chubby little legs. Later, he came down again, hands on his hips, frowning as he asked, "Aren't you supposed to be my brother? Why didn't you come talk to me first?" I was still thinking of how to answer when Scarlett's voice came, "Samuel, don't be rude to your brother." "I want to." Samuel made a face and ran back again. That time, I understood. I followed him and was eventually invited into his room. Samuel shared his toys, his snacks, and his time with me. He was easier to get along with than I expected. He was also clingier than I imagined. And he had a strong sense of possessiveness toward me. Except for school hours, he liked to follow me everywhere. Even at night, he wanted me to hold him while sleeping. Scarlett shook her head, saying, "This kid is too much. Nathan must be annoyed to death." I pursed my lips and blankly replied, "No, Samuel is very well behaved." Hearing this, Scarlett and Parker exchanged a glance and laughed. After that, they felt comfortable traveling around the world frequently, leaving us alone. Samuel's strange possessiveness only grew stronger as he got older. By the time we turned 18, many people in our class had started their secondary differentiation. Young pheromones filled the air, restless and uncontrollable. Sharing a classroom every day meant it was impossible not to be touched by those lingering scents. It drove Samuel crazy with jealousy. "Brother, you're mine. Your scent should only carry my mark, not anyone else's." But he hadn't differentiated yet. All he could do was smell the pheromones, unable to do anything more. He'd cling to me, rubbing against my shoulder as if he could scrub away the scents left by others. Sometimes he even forced me to wear strong perfume. It was sweet, like two bros. Later, he came up with another wild idea. "Brother, you should get a tattoo." Samuel pushed me down, lifting my shirt. His fingers hovered and stopped on my lower abdomen. "Right here. A two bros. What do you think?" "Why?" I was afraid of pain. Getting a tattoo had never crossed my mind, let alone doing it because of one of Samuel's strange whims. "Because I don't feel safe," he muttered in a low voice. "We don't share blood, brother. I have no sense of security at all. I don't want anyone to take you away, or leave their scent on you. If you get a tattoo here, people will know you're mine." "Brother." I didn't understand. Why was he so insecure? My dad and his mom had a great relationship, and Samuel and I got along well as brothers. We'd probably never even live apart in this lifetime. "Why don't you get one, then?" I nudged him away. He puffed up his cheeks and said stubbornly, "Because it hurts, brother." He kept bringing it up over and over, until I couldn't stand it anymore. In the end, a two bros really did bloom on my lower abdomen. My differentiation came late. On the day of Samuel's 18th birthday, I finally differentiated. And, unexpectedly, I didn't become an Omega. I was an Alpha, carrying the scent of Angelica. Samuel, who had always been clingy and dependent on me, started avoiding me after that. I even thought he'd begun to resent me. That was until his heat struck, sudden and overwhelming. Only then did I realize he had already differentiated. He was an Omega, his pheromone the same two bros scent that always lingered around him. It rolled over me like a storm, powerful and all-consuming. I didn't have time to react before he pounced on me, knocking me to the floor. Omegas were supposed to be weaker than Alphas, yet I couldn't move at all under his weight. Panic made my throat go dry. "Samuel, please, get up first, okay?" He shook his head, pressing his nose against my neck, breathing me in. "Brother, give me some pheromone. Please, it hurts." I couldn't stand seeing him suffer. Against all reason, I agreed. The scent of Angelica spread through the air, wrapping around the two bros that filled the room. Samuel lifted his head, his gaze dark and unreadable. Then, without warning, he kissed me. My eyes widened. I forgot to even resist. By the time I came back to my senses, I was already beneath him. The air from the AC made my skin shiver, while the heat of his body made it burn. Everything was a blur. Samuel wouldn't stop, his need consuming everything. My breathing broke apart beneath the rhythm, and dizziness clouded my head. In the haze, I heard him grit out against my ear, "Nathan, I hate you. Why did you have to be an Alpha?" After that day, it was like Samuel had flipped a switch. He grew hot and cold, yet couldn't stop dragging me into bed with him. He would cover my mouth, his breath lingering too close to the back of my neck. My alpha instincts made my body tense as I tried in vain to resist. "Brother, do you want Mom and Dad to find out what we're doing?" I froze, biting down on my lip. A sense of helplessness spread through me. I didn't even know how things had gone this far. We used to just be close brothers. But after that night, everything had spun out of control. Even now, I still couldn't escape Samuel's grasp. "Brother, you can't run from me. From the moment you became my brother, you should have known this was going to happen one day." I didn't know, but this kind of relationship shouldn't exist between us. And this child should never have existed either. Before Parker and Scarlett could suspect anything, I made an appointment for an abortion and agreed to my father's arranged marriage. Oliver was the partner my father had chosen for me. Our pheromone compatibility was as high as 80%. He seemed sincere and proactive, reaching out to discuss our future. By the time Samuel found out, I had already set the engagement date. He kicked open my bedroom door. I had just finished changing clothes, getting ready to go pick out rings with Oliver. Samuel's expression was dark, his tone cold as ice. "You're going to marry that Omega?" My hand paused mid-motion, then I nodded slightly. He gave a humorless smile, his gaze sliding down and stopping at my waist. My heart skipped a beat. I tugged my shirt instinctively. He came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. His palm rested, deliberately or not, against my lower abdomen. His breath brushed my ear as he asked quietly, "Does that Omega know that an alpha like you is carrying my child, brother? What do you think Mom and Dad would say if they found out?" My breath caught, my whole body freezing up. After a long silence, I forced out, "What are you talking about?" Samuel didn't answer. He glanced toward the doorway, then suddenly grabbed my chin and kissed me hard. My breath hitched, my body going weak. I had to cling to his shoulders just to stay upright. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of someone standing in the doorway. My heart stopped, blood turning to ice. "Focus," Samuel muttered, biting my lip lightly before covering my eyes with his hand. But that shadow at the door wouldn't leave my mind. I pushed him away with all my strength, hands trembling as I fixed my clothes. My voice came out thick with emotion. "Samuel, this is the end for us." He pressed his lips together, staring at me silently. I took a deep breath and turned to leave. Samuel grabbed my wrist, his eyes glinting with obsession. "If you want it to end, fine. But Nathan, you'll give me the child." I froze, my fingers digging into my palms. After a long pause, I forced a faint smile and said quietly, "You're imagining things. There will never be a child between us." 7. Downstairs. Oliver's face was pale as paper as he stammered, "Nathan, you guys." I pressed my lips together, at a loss for words. I knew. Everything that happened between Samuel and me upstairs had already been seen by him. There was no way to explain it. "Don't worry," Oliver said carefully, glancing at me. "I won't tell anyone." He crossed his fingers over his lips, trying to reassure me with a promise. Our plan didn't change. We still went out together to pick the rings. All the way there, Oliver kept stealing glances at me, as if holding back something. I finally said, "If you've got something to say, just say it." He asked the driver to raise the divider, then lowered his voice. "You and Samuel, was it your choice?" I fell silent for a while, neither denying nor confirming, just sighed. "Maybe I've spoiled him too much all these years," I murmured. "That's why he started thinking that way about me." I thought back. Samuel had always crossed boundaries. He never let me get too close to anyone else. He even interfered when I tried to make friends. People used to joke, "Nathan, that's not a little brother, that's basically a boyfriend." Samuel would sneer beside me, replying, "Both roles fit me just fine. And stay away from my brother, all of you smell too strong without blockers." Among alphas, catching a trace of pheromones wasn't a big deal, but Samuel never allowed it. Every time he smelled someone else's scent on me, he would throw a tantrum and drench me with tuberose perfume. Back then, I didn't think much of it. Only now did I realize, Samuel had been harboring those feelings for me for a long time. And he must have already differentiated as an Omega with that same tuberose scent back then. That's why he became obsessed with the tattoo and the perfume. After picking the rings, I dropped Oliver off at his place. He smiled at me. "Nathan, if you ever need my help, just ask." As he stepped out of the car, he mumbled thoughtfully, "So, even stepbrothers can be together, huh?" 8. After leaving his place, I didn't go home. Instead, I told the driver to turn toward the hospital. The abortion appointment I'd made a few days ago was scheduled for today. Sitting in the cold hospital waiting area, the sharp scent of disinfectant burned my nose. The red numbers flashing on the screen made my chest tighten with unease. I gripped the appointment slip tightly, glancing down at my still flat stomach. The baby was so small, barely real, barely there. Yet somehow, in that moment, I could almost feel a faint pulse inside. Maybe sensing my hesitation, my stomach churned violently again. I rushed to the restroom, barely keeping it together. By the time I came out, my name had already been skipped. Maybe this was fate, maybe I wasn't meant to lose this child. I lifted a hand, resting it gently over my abdomen. The nausea faded away, and the baby's faint presence slipped into silence again. "Maybe, I'll wait a few more days," I whispered. I looked once more at the flashing numbers on the screen, then turned and left. As soon as I got home, the door burst open behind me. I turned, and crashed straight into Samuel's frantic eyes. He stood a few steps away, breathing heavily, sweat running down his temple. He had clearly rushed back. His gaze locked on mine, then dropped slowly to the paper in my hand, the appointment slip I hadn't thrown away. The light in his eyes went out. His voice was hoarse. "You did it?" I opened my mouth, about to explain that I hadn't gone through with it yet, but he didn't give me a chance. Samuel slammed me against the wall. The pain shot up my spine. Before I could steady myself, he snatched the paper from my hand. He glanced at it once, then threw it aside, his voice breaking with anger. Nathan, how could you be so cruel? You were really going to get rid of our child, didn't I tell you? I wanted you to keep it. I struggled, but he was too strong. Samuel, listen to me. He cut me off. Listen, to what? You were going to kill our baby, and you think there's anything left to say? His tone cracked. Nathan, you'd rather marry that Omega than have our child, is that it? His words shifted so fast that it took me a moment to catch up. Then I realized, he thought I was doing this for the arranged marriage. Maybe that was for the best. Maybe that misunderstanding could end things for good. I nodded. Yes, my parents think it's a good match, and so do I. Samuel let out a sharp laugh. A good match? Let me show you what a real match looks like. He shoved me onto the sofa, and I instinctively curled an arm around my stomach. He didn't notice, leaning over me, his pheromones sharp and overwhelming. The once soft tuberose scent turned fierce, invasive. I tried to fight back, releasing my own pheromones, but his crushed mine completely. Then his teeth brushed against my gland, and a chill ran through me. Samuel, I thrashed in panic. You can't mark me. Only an enigma could mark another alpha. And Samuel was an Omega. An Omega couldn't mark anyone. Realizing that, I forced myself to calm down. It would hurt, but that was all. He couldn't really mark me. Samuel chuckled, his breath hot against my neck. Then let's find out, he whispered. 9. When I met his gaze, my pulse faltered. Every muscle in my body went rigid. Samuel let out a quiet, humorless laugh and pressed the back of my head down, exposing my gland completely. Pain lanced through me as his fangs sank in. The tuberose pheromones flooded into my body, spreading through every vein. The impossible was happening. My own pheromones fought back, but they were blocked, then devoured, smothered entirely. The pain made me curl in on myself, my vision darkened at the edges. By the time it ended, I was drenched in sweat, trembling like I'd been pulled out of water. I whimpered softly, something strange shifting inside me. Samuel licked the blood from my skin, satisfaction glinting in his eyes. Brother, he said softly, do you feel it? You've been marked by me. Impossible, I murmured. An Omega can't mark an Alpha. Samuel laughed lowly by my ear. Who told you I'm an Omega? My eyes widened in disbelief. He smiled faintly. I forgot to tell you. I've already undergone a secondary differentiation. I'm not an Omega anymore. I'm an Enigma. Samuel frowned as his eyes trailed over me, then quickly stripped off my sweat-soaked shirt. I turned my face away, muttering, if you're disgusted, then don't touch me. He wrapped an arm around my waist, lifting me easily. How could I ever be disgusted? I'm just afraid you'll be uncomfortable. He carried me into the bathroom. The sound of running water filled the air, tangled with uneven breaths. Samuel thought the child was already gone, and that fury hadn't yet cooled. His movements were rough, unrestrained. I bit down hard, trying to keep my voice from breaking, until pain and heat blurred together, and I bit his shoulder instead. As my consciousness wavered, a bitter thought crossed my mind. Maybe, if this made me lose the child, it would be easier. After all, he was never supposed to exist in the first place. 10. After that day, the house we had grown up in became Samuel's prison for me. The confinement lasted almost a month. Every day I was forced to stay home, subjected to his relentless games. The child in my womb, however, was surprisingly resilient. Not only did it continue to grow healthily, but all the discomfort from the early pregnancy vanished. I went on a hunger strike for a few days in protest. In the end, Samuel begrudgingly relaxed his restrictions and stopped locking me in. But the moment I left his sight, there were always a few people following me. No matter how I tried, I couldn't escape. Still, the arranged engagement moved forward as planned. Perhaps because being marked gave him a sense of security, Samuel not only didn't stop me from seeing Oliver, he even helped organize the engagement ceremony. On the day of the engagement, Samuel was unusually cheerful. After I changed into my suit, he even helped me with my tie. Brother, you look amazing today, he said, wrapping his arms around my waist and peppering kisses on me. My heart fluttered, and I teased him casually. You're so happy, I'd almost think you were my fiancé today. Samuel paused, hand on my waist, and asked with a teasing smile, and what if I said, it really was me? I lowered my eyes and pushed him away to change the subject. Oliver's waiting outside. I should go see him first. After a long, lingering kiss, Samuel reluctantly let me go. Oliver was already waiting in the garden, looking anxious, a sheen of sweat on his brow as he scanned the surroundings. Brother Nathan, everything's ready for you. From the first day Samuel had confined me, I had been waiting for this opportunity, a chance to leave. Samuel arranging the engagement was unexpected, but a crowded engagement ceremony was the perfect cover. Still, I owed Oliver an apology. I'm sorry, I murmured, unsure how to explain to the Omega in front of me. He had been dragged into this because of me. Sorry for what? Oliver shook his head. Just go. Someone's here to help me, he said mysteriously. I've been taking notes from you too, and I took care of something big. Even without marrying you, I won't be treated like a tool for engagement anymore. Feigning calm, I walked with Oliver in the garden, edging toward the side gate. My heart raced, palms sweaty. Under Oliver's watchful gaze, I slipped out the side gate and got into the car he had prepared. Through the window, I noticed another tall figure beside Oliver, apparently his young uncle. Leaning on him, Oliver's eyes gleamed mischievously, a bright smile on his face. And I was leaving the place I had grown up with Samuel. 11. I settled in a remote village. It was underdeveloped, and even bus tickets didn't require real name registration, perfect for hiding from Samuel. About a month of peace passed, then morning sickness returned, more violently than before. I hid in my rented room, vomiting until I was exhausted. My phone rang for a long time. It was my father, Parker. I hesitated for a while before answering. Dad? There was silence on the other end. Parker sounded tired, but didn't question me. Nathan, where are you? My heart sank. I knew they had noticed. I mumbled a vague location. We know about you and Samuel, Parker sighed. Scarlett was so angry, she hit him and locked him up. I gripped the phone, bracing for their blame. After all, I was the older brother, the one who should have guided Samuel properly. Parker's voice carried a weight I couldn't describe. We saw the surveillance at home. Samuel forced you, didn't he? Surveillance? I froze, then remembered there was indeed a camera at home, installed when we were kids, so our parents could check in while out. As we grew up, only the entrance and living room remained under observation. I had long forgotten about it. Shame washed over me in an instant. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Nathan, it's our fault, we didn't notice sooner, Parker said, full of guilt. We don't know the exact nature of your feelings for each other, but we respect your decision. If you don't want to come back, you don't have to. Your mother and I will make time to visit you regularly. Tears fell unexpectedly. I hadn't expected this reaction. No scolding, no blame, only cautious respect and support. I had thought they would criticize me for indulging my younger brother, for not guiding him properly. All right, Dad won't bother you anymore. Rest well, Nathan. After hanging up, I crouched on the floor, crying for a long time. Their attitude eased my tension, the heavy stone on my chest lifted slightly. 12. As my belly grew, my need for pheromones increased, but the marking had faded beyond visibility. I had run out of pheromone supplements. I had no choice but to go to the hospital. The doctor frowned as he looked at my test results. I remember you, you're the pregnant alpha, he said. Looking behind me, he scowled. Where's your partner? And why hasn't he come? More importantly, he still hasn't provided pheromones. Does this child even have a chance? Without pheromones, the baby might not survive, and your own health is at serious risk. Yes, I nodded. I'll talk to him. The doctor sighed and continued preparing my pheromone supplements without further questions. Returning to the village, the sky was overcast. I carried the medicine back to my room. A familiar car was parked downstairs, incongruous with the surroundings. My heart jumped, and I instinctively tried to avoid it. The car door opened. The evening breeze carried the scent of tuberose, freezing my steps. Samuel walked toward me, a smile on his lips. Brother, I found you. 13. I knew Samuel would eventually find me here, but I hadn't expected him to come so soon. His gaze was like a rope, tightly binding me in place. I instinctively stepped back, shielding my belly. A few steps closer, he looked at the bag I was holding, his voice tight. You went to the hospital, are you feeling unwell? I tried to hide the bag behind me, but he snatched it in one hand. Samuel pulled out the medicine inside. The moment he saw the boxes, his expression froze. He looked up abruptly, eyes reddening, staring at my belly in disbelief. It's still there. Brother, you didn't get rid of it. I turned my face away, silently confirming. Samuel looked stunned, like the news had knocked him senseless, hands hovering, unsure whether to touch me. Brother, he stammered, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I thought I was wrong. Please forgive me. No. Samuel pouted, his eyes glistening, looking at me almost submissively. Before, when he had angered me, he'd look at me like that to soften me, to get my forgiveness. But our relationship had long since changed. I refused to let him make me soft again. He grabbed me, voice low and pleading. I know you hate me now, don't want to see me, don't want to forgive me. The doctor said you need calming pheromones, right? Don't chase me away. Just treat me like a pheromone provider, okay? His pheromones were careful, full of an almost apologetic sweetness, trying to wrap around me. My body, restless from lack of pheromones, calmed at the scent of tuberose. I deliberately held my breath and ignored him completely, walking straight into the house without looking back. 14. Samuel didn't leave. He squatted stubbornly at my door. The gentle scent of tuberose seeped through the cracks, curling into the room. My body, honest in its desires, craved it, and my discomfort almost vanished. This realization only made me more frustrated. That night, a torrential rain fell outside. After a few rumbles of thunder, I slowly got out of bed and walked to the window. The car was still downstairs. Samuel hadn't left. I tiptoed to the door. A faint scent of tuberose confirmed he was still there. Then Samuel's voice sounded. "Brother, you're awake." Caught by him, I opened the door, seeing his crouched figure. I asked coldly, "What are you still doing here?" "Mom kicked me out," Samuel said, head down, voice plaintive. "If you won't forgive me, I have nowhere else to go." Playing the victim again. We stood there, one standing, one crouching, silently facing each other for several minutes. My mouth surrendered before my brain. "Come in." The moment I said it, regret hit me. Letting him in was like inviting a wolf into the house. Samuel, a strong enigma, would be fine outside all night, but he gave me no chance to back out, quickly slipping inside. As if afraid of being driven away, he lay on the sofa, repeatedly promising, "Brother, just pretend I don't exist. I won't disturb you." I did as he said, ignoring him completely, and returned to my room. Not long after lying down, my calf cramped violently. Pain shot through me. I rolled from the bed onto the carpet. Cold sweat soaked my pajamas. I bit my lip, trying to massage it myself, but couldn't manage. Footsteps sounded outside. Samuel rushed in, pushing the door open. "Brother, what's wrong?" Seeing me curled on the floor, the color drained from his face. Cramped, I groaned. Without a word, Samuel knelt beside me, warm hands pressing gently on my calf, massaging just enough. The sharp pain eased under his hands and the calming pheromones. I closed my eyes, forced to admit that this relief was his doing. "Better?" Samuel asked softly, his movements uncharacteristically gentle. I ignored him. He didn't mind, continuing the massage. After a while, Samuel lifted me back onto the bed, holding my hand tightly. "Brother, don't send me away tomorrow either. You're pregnant alone. Someone needs to take care of you." I looked up a lot of information tonight. Pregnancy needs plenty of calming pheromones, and nutrition is important. I'm not good at cooking, but I'll learn seriously. Let me stay and take care of you, brother. I pulled the blanket over my face, silent. Samuel murmured softly, "If you don't say anything, I'll take it as consent." 15. After that leg cramp, Samuel just brazenly moved in. Knowing I lacked calming pheromones, he turned into a walking pheromone machine, practically marinating me in tuberose scent every day. He also took over all the household chores and 3 daily meals. Samuel, as always, arrogantly claimed every corner of the house as his own. But I deliberately kept a measured distance from him, never initiating conversation. Samuel didn't give up, explaining to me anyway. "Brother, the surveillance thing wasn't on purpose. I honestly forgot the cameras were still there, otherwise, how could I have, you know?" He touched his nose, looking guilty, voice lowering. "The marking and keeping you from going out, it was all my fault. I was too scared. We've always been together since we were kids. I didn't want you with anyone else, afraid you'd completely leave me. Brother, I won't do that again. I'll always ask your opinion before doing anything." I kept my head down, eating silently, giving no response. After lunch, I went for a routine prenatal checkup. Samuel followed me. Looking at the latest report, the doctor finally relaxed his furrowed brows. "Your pheromone levels have stabilized a lot recently. Has your partner returned?" Before I could answer, Samuel hurried in, flustered. "I'm his partner, doctor. Is there a problem?" "A problem," the doctor glanced at him. "A big one. No matter how well an alpha's reproductive system develops, it still doesn't compare to an omega's. As the fetus grows, later risks increase, and premature birth is more likely. We can't take this lightly. Since your partner is here, daily pheromone calming is a must. Stop the supplements, they only treat the symptom, not the root." Samuel listened carefully while jotting down notes. I found myself distracted, staring at his focused profile. When we got home, Samuel crouched in front of me, expectant. "What are you doing?" I asked. His ears tinted red. He whispered, "The doctor said I should mark you." I gave a non-committal, "Oh," turning my head down awkwardly under his gaze. Samuel wrapped his arms around my waist, inching closer. My gland, long untouched by an enigma, trembled uncontrollably at his light kiss. He paused, whispering, "Did I hurt you?" "No," I ground out through clenched teeth. "Faster, don't dawdle." Images of his previous forced marking flashed in my mind, making my heart race, waiting anxiously for pain. But this time, Samuel's bite was gentle. As his pheromones flowed in, pleasure surged through my body, almost no pain at all. After marking, Samuel held me without letting go. He stared at my swollen belly, hesitated a moment, then asked, "Can I touch it?" I whispered an almost inaudible, With permission, Samuel's large, warm hands rested carefully on my belly. Soon, the baby kicked lightly. Samuel's face lit up with uncontainable excitement. "Brother, he kicked me." At that moment, a hardened part of my heart seemed to melt quietly under his warmth. 16. After the marking, I didn't retreat to my room like before. I watched him organizing all my recent prenatal reports in the living room. "Brother," Samuel said, voice muffled, "can we go back home? This place is too far from a proper hospital. If something goes wrong later, I'm afraid it won't be in time." I didn't reply immediately. He made sense. Medical facilities in the countryside couldn't compare to the city. We had come here for its remoteness so Samuel wouldn't find me easily, but he had. And this child, besides my last-minute decision not to terminate, was something Samuel had been longing for. All my life, I hadn't been able to refuse him, couldn't resist his unique dependence and love. Looking at his nervous, cautious expression, I licked my lips, unable to voice a refusal. Not hearing my answer, Samuel smiled softly, "If you really don't want to go back, I'll have Mom find a family doctor to come here." After a pause, I nodded slightly. "All right, let's go back. The doctor said later stage risks are high, so staying in the city is better." Samuel's eyes lit up instantly, a radiant smile spreading across his face. "Good. I'll arrange it immediately." He drove us back, steady all the way. As the car entered the familiar neighborhood, I saw Parker and Scarlett at the entrance. They rushed over, but paused when they noticed my swollen belly. "The baby's this big already?" I touched my belly. "Yes, almost 6 months." Parker supported me. "Glad you're back." Samuel stood a few steps away, holding the suitcase, nervously watching the three of us, looking like he was waiting for judgment. Scarlett glanced at him, then me, finally sighing. "Let's go inside. I made your favorite dishes." After dinner, Samuel accompanied me on a walk downstairs. The evening breeze carried the familiar pheromone scent. His hand stayed carefully behind me, protective. Back at the doorstep, Samuel pursed his lips and said suddenly, "If you still don't want to forgive me, I'll move out for now." I stopped, turning to look at him. The streetlight cast soft shadows on his face. The stubborn eyes I'd known were now softened with specks of tenderness. I reached out, tugging his shirt. "There's nothing to forgive. The house is big enough, and the doctor said pheromones are necessary. Don't withhold them again." Samuel's eyes widened, a full smile spreading as he pulled me into his arms. Leaning against his chest, listening to his heartbeat like a drum, my own heartbeat gradually synchronized with his. It dawned on me, belatedly. From the very start of this relationship, if I hadn't silently allowed it, Samuel wouldn't have dared act so boldly. Perhaps the path had been crooked from the beginning. But a crooked path is still a path. What matters is that it's walkable. And that's enough.